Well, it's been almost 2 years since my Chevy K10 broke down, specifically the GM62 diesel, and it had a catastrophic failure. So over the last year and a half, I have spent completely rebuilding the engine as well as doing some restoration work in the front engine bay. So I'm going to take you through a recap now of all that work and what it took to get this truck running again.
Problem started with erratic idling and squeaky fan belts. Not long after, a loud banging occurred when I was driving and I nursed the truck home. What I discovered was catastrophic. The harmonic balancer had come loose, shearing its keyway and destroying it. And the worst part, it destroyed the snout of the crankshaft where the harmonic balancer sits. And I wasn't sure how extensive the damage was to the motor beyond the crankshaft. So I decided to pull it, document everything extensively.
Got 2 studs up
so I'd have a roadmap on how to put it all back together when the time came. At this point, I decided to switch gears and start on the restoration work. Chipping, grinding, and sanding away 40 years of dirt, grime, and rust.
As they say, it's all in the prep work, and no exception here. So I did my due diligence with prepping, and as a base coat I used Rust Reformer, which not only encapsulates rust, but also works as a great base primer for this Krylon matte black finish that I used here. If I have any chips or anything, this is essentially the same color, so you don't see any primer laying underneath, and I can easily come back and do touch-ups in the future for very low cost, and it continues to look great.
Refocused on the old GM62 diesel, I started tearing things down for inspection. We pulled the oil pan, then the crankshaft, and found that the main and rod bearings were in really good shape, indicating the violent accident did not appear to affect the rest of the motor. So it seemed I had 3 options. The first was to put in a new crank and bearings, not knowing how tired the rest of this motor was, and take a chance by putting it back in the truck, only to find out that I'd have to pull it again for some other reason. The second option was a complete random coincidence. My dad had pulled the same exact motor from an identical truck almost 25 years ago. It ran fine when it was pulled out with just under 100,000 miles. It's been sitting for 25 years, and I'm not sure what components might need to be replaced after sitting so long.
Third option was a complete rebuild. No half measures, and that's the path I decided to go.
Quality Diesel in Sacramento, California are experts at building diesel engines. Not only do they rebuild diesel engines for industrial, marine, and semi-truck applications, they also work on pickup truck engines like Cummins and my old GM Detroit diesel. I loaded the motor up in a van, delivered it, and in 2 weeks they returned the complete rebuilt short block. Piece by piece, I meticulously reassembled the engine, referencing an original GM shop manual, friends, and Facebook groups.
This is Leroy's oil priming tool. See the pressure build up. Oil is running out of all the push rods. So I'd say this motor is oil primed.
I shipped my worn out Standardine injection pump and injectors to Dennis at DNL Injection Services in Wichita, Kansas. He has top-notch customer service and skills. He's also very affordable. Reassembly occurred over the next few months as my weekend project, replacing parts like the oil pump, the fuel pump, the water pump, and painting parts like the valve covers and brackets. To paint the engine, I use VHT's high temperature engine enamel primer and paint. Here's a before and after of the exhaust manifolds. On these, I use VHT's flame-proof paint, good for up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Eventually, it was time to drop the motor back in, and all the documentation I had done previously was invaluable as I pieced everything back together.
I've got everything hooked up here. The rebuilt GM62 diesel. Just hooked up power. Just to see if it turns over, everything works okay. Let's give it a try. A moment of truth here. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire. Everything came on. Glow plug. Will it turn over? Please turn over. Oh yeah. Alright, been fiddling with this truck with the fuel. If everything's ready, been turning it over, trying to get the fuel to the fuel lines. It's there. It's starting to pick up. Let's see if it starts. Waiting for the glow plug. Try again.